welcome to my studio. Today we're working on our holiday yard signs, and what we're going to do is take the political sign that you have in your front yard that you don't know what to do with and turn it into this double-sided sign that can go outside for the holidays and be lots of fun. Now these are corrugated signs, and then they have the little stands in them. So we're just going to simply take out our stand, and I'm going to go outside and I'm going to spray paint. Now this one is blue, and the first time I did it I sprayed it with a silver, and I would say do your darker color because you have some that shows through. Now it doesn't matter if some of it shows through because we're going to do a lot of sponging on top to help cover that out, but I'm going to use my spray paint. I'm going to use a dark blue. This one is Rust-Oleum and it goes to plastic. This is the 2 times, which makes it even better yet, so it'll help cover that up and make it one piece. Now if you didn't want to use spray paint, you probably could use your multi-surface paint and put it on your sign, and you may need a few coats to cover that up, but that will work just fine. So I'm going to put on my gloves, my mask, go outside and spray it blue. So for these, I went to a Walmart, and these are actually window stencils, and they have all of these fun ones there, and they're big, which I really like, but stencils have been really hard to find, and sometimes they don't always have what I want. So there's some snowflakes. This one I actually used individual lettering stencils to do because I hadn't found those at that time. But I also want to tell you about a wonderful designer who has been helping me with stencils and has been making me some awesome stencils. And you can go to her page at spumonidesigns.com and check out all of her designs. I have a nativity scene coming. It's just a silhouettes, and I think that would be great on this as well. So there's a bunch of different things that she has and is working on for us, so check those out and see what she's got for us. But I've decided I'm going to do the Merry Christmas on this because I've already done the Let It Snow, and so I was thinking about my background colors because I have the blue. Now I let this dry really well. Everything is kind of sticking to it. It's a little bit sticky. Do one side at a time. It was rainy and wet, very cold outside. I sprayed it outside, and then I brought it in to our bathroom. I shut the door, turned the vents and the heat on so that that could dry. And also when we're working on one side, you don't want to scratch the other side, so kind of think about that as well. So I'm only going to work one side at a time, let each dry really well. So for our background, we're going to sponge these colors on, and that really did, just one solid coat, really did pretty well. I can see this a little bit, but by the time we get stuff sponged, you're not going to see that at all. So I'm going to use my multi-surface paints. I'm going to use like my medium blue and then my light blue color, and we're going to be using a regular craft sponge. You can get those at miriamjoy.com if you don't have one. And we're going to be using a lot of paint, and I've got another one I was trying to empty out here, so I'll get him set aside. But I wanted to think about colors that would show up, and we're going to be doing a lot of layers. And how many layers you decide and what layer colors you want to put on are up to you. I'm going to be doing that. I might do a little bit of metallic. I'm going to be doing some definitely gray metallic. I also thought about some glitter, a little bit of glitter paint in there as well. So that's up to you, whatever you decide to do. So I've wet my craft sponge down, and this is real important. I've squeezed it out till there's no water left in here. It's just damp because I do not want any water on my paints. And instead of putting my sponge right into the middle of the paint, I'm going to pull it out onto the paint, and I'm going to pounce up and down on this. And once I kind of get that worked in, and you've got a nice even where none of your paint is giving you any globs or anything like that, you can come in and you can apply it here and there on your side. Now if you want to use a sea sponge, I might do one layer like this, and I might come back and do my sea sponge as well. You can do that. And I'm going to do my darkest color to my lighter color as we work up. If you get a dot, come back and kind of sponge that in. And we'll start with our next color. So I'm going to do the lighter blue this time, and I'm going to change to a sea sponge so you can see the difference here. And we're going to load it the same way again. This is a real light blue, and we're kind of trying to go in opposite areas of what we've done before. And however you want to do it, if you have a lighter touch, if you have a heavier touch, that's up to you. There's no right or wrong, it's just how it gets done. So I'm going to rinse now, and then I'm going to put on my silver. Okay, I'm just coming back in with the silver. And your different type of sponges, each one is going to make a different type of design. So on this one up here, I used more of just the craft sponge and not the natural sponge. So that's kind of up to you what you like or what you don't like, and just play with it. So I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and then I'm going to come in here and I am going to go ahead and put some of this glitter on. And this is Folk Art, the gems, and it's just glitter, brush on glitter or whatever, and it's got like a paint glue to it. So you can put a lot on it, you can put a little on it, and I can see that shine already. I really like that. Or you could come back and put it on after we stipple on our sign, so it's not underneath your sign, and just put it more around the edges or in snowflakes or whatever you do. I probably will do a little bit of that after we get our sign done on. So I'm going to let that really dry real well, and then we're going to start working on the stencil. So on our sign, we want to put our background layer before we put our sign. And what I mean by this is we've got the snowflakes behind the lettering. And I want to do that again because that's kind of the color theme I've got going on. So I'm going to do that. Again, I'm using the same type of stencil. Our friend has some wonderful snowflakes coming out that I can't wait to get my hands on and to show you guys. So make sure you check those out on her site as well. Now, because we're working with plastic as our background, I'm not going to use a brush. I'm going to stick with the sponge even to apply my stencils on with, but I've cut it down into smaller pieces. And it's still important, though, that we don't just go right into the middle of the paint, that we pull our paint out and just get that little bit. That's what's going to keep our stencils crisp and clean, and so it doesn't go underneath and bleed and stuff like that. Now we want to just put random snowflakes all over, and we want some halfway on and halfway off. We don't want them uniform. I'm going to actually start on kind of maybe one end and work my way to the other end. That way I stay out of my way as I'm working, and I forgot to move it with me so that you can see it here. And you can tape this down. This is one time I would not use the spray adhesive because I'm afraid it'll pick up our paint, so I don't really recommend that. So we're going to pick that straight up here, and you can wipe these down as you're going. That's up to you to keep your stencil clean and so that it doesn't get white anywhere else that we're working on. And I am just using white And this is my multi-surface paint. And again, I apologize for getting out of frame here. My cameraman's trying to keep up with me, but it's such a long piece that I'm moving it here, there, and the other. So now, like this guy, I want him part off. I should have him more off than that even. And kind of a good rule of thumb is to make your stencils all different. Go through all of the stencils that you have before you start reusing the design again. And that way you kind of will get a variety here. Whoops, we spilled here. So I'm going to put this guy on, partway on and partway off. I gotta stop and reload my white here. I'm running out of white. But isn't that already starting to look really cool? I want a bigger one in the middle and then some smaller ones as we're working here. So I'm going to do this guy here. But you can see how easy this is. It's not hard at all. And putting the lettering on is very simple. But by keeping it ununiform and, like I said, making sure that we're knocking some of these off as we're working, and even putting two of these together, like up here, I think I'm going to just put those two just together right there as one, and then that way it even makes it more random. Okay, so we need a couple of little guys, maybe. I'm going to do those two. Trying to keep it off the ones that are wet still in the back. Excuse my hand. And actually, I even think I'm going to come down here and get that guy right at the edge. Okay. Now, if you think it needs any more, then put more in it, but I like that just the way it is. I know I've got a little bit of an open area there, but that's what's great about keeping it random. So I'm going to let that dry, and we'll start our Merry Christmas on it. So I'm going to do my Merry Christmas, and I don't think I want it so close together, so I'm going to do the Merry and then move it down and then do the Christmas. And you want to think about your placement. And I've got that about 3 fingers and that about 3 fingers. This has got a little bit more on the end over here because that's hanging, a part that was hanging. And because we're using the Christmas part separately, I'm going to tape that part off just so with my sponge I don't get it on there and I don't have to worry about that. Now I'm going to be doing that in red, and then I'm going to be doing my holly in green, and I think my holly I'm going to do up in the corner, so we're going to take a look at that in just a minute. So I'm loading it the exact same way I did before. Another color you could do this with is black. That's what I did on my Let It Snow. We want this nice and thick. But we don't want to apply it so it's running underneath the stencil part. And if you think it needs 2 layers, which this one really might, that might be a good thing, is put this on, let it dry, come back, do it one more time. I think that because of the red against the dark color here, I might go ahead and do 2 coats. I think that would really help it as well. Especially like on this guy where we've got the white behind him. So I'm going to let him dry. I'm going to apply 1 more coat, and then we'll move down to the Christmas part of our sign. I've got my Mary part done. It's dry. I picked up the stencil. I moved my tape to cover up the Mary part now, and I tried to make sure that I've got my stencil kind of evened out between the two. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the Christmas just like we did the Mary. And again, I'm going to do a couple of coats, nice and heavy as we're working on our sign. And on these little guys that pop up, you might want to hold them down with your finger as you're working to keep them so that they're nice and crisp and clean when we get done here. After looking at it, I really think the holly would take away from at least this sign because I've got the blue going on. If you did a different color sign, you might have that. So I'm just going to go ahead and put some more glitter all over this puppy. And you could have even done this with just in the white snowflakes. You could line those patterns back up if you wanted to, or however you thought that needed to be. But I'm just going to go ahead and really glitter this up. The fun thing is you can make the other side totally different. I might do a Merry Christmas in the green and kind of see how that turns out, or you can do that. Let it snow. It's all up to you. Just have fun with it and make it your own. Well, we finished up our sign, and I think that looks really, really great. And I love the blue. I'm a blue and white snowflake person for Christmas, so that's right up my alley, and I think that's really fun. But you can put anything you want on one side and then the other. That's what's so unique about those. So we needed to finish talking about varnishing them. I would go ahead and do a brush on varnish because they're going to be outside. I'm going to use polyacrylic. You could use a bigger brush as long as your bristles are soft. You don't want to see your brush strokes. If you're seeing your brush strokes, you may want to put another layer back on. I would probably still do 2 to 3 layers just because it's going to be outside and you want it to last a little bit longer. Also keeps the paint from scratching because we are working on plastic, so it's just going to help that be nice and secure. We've used our different stencils, but don't forget to go and check out the custom stencils at spumonidesigns.com. There's a bunch of fun ones. I really would like to do this with joy, 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 or just put this in a smaller sign if you happen to come across a smaller sign. So, of course, Miriam Joy, you get that, right? So, give us a thumbs up. Tell us you liked our videos. Please share them so we can continue to grow. And thank you, and have a Merry Christmas.